one of the biggest rivalries in LCK. Now, as the draft begins, let's take a look at what the priority is going to be here, because the LCK has looked very different in terms of their priority to what we're seeing from the LPL teams and the Western teams as well. You and I were talking about this before the show. Renata Glass very likely to be taken away from Keria. That holds true already.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of point picks when it does come to the drafts between these two. The Vi going to be taken away from Peanut. I do wonder if they target him again. The Poppy definitely on the minds of a lot of people, not just for Peanut, but for a lot of other players here. Weiwei picking that one up and smashing it with the Poppy. But not a lot of support focus outside of the Renata just yet. We were considering maybe Rakan and Alistar to be banned away, but not just yet. A lot of target picks from Genji onto Gumayusi.
Yeah, the Poppy you were talking about there is going to come out here. This feels exactly par for the course, because Peanut has been the stronger of these two junglers so far at this tournament and got the better of Gumayusi, or rather better of Oner at the end of the LCK as well. Now, they'll prioritize the Xayah here over the Alistar, over the Rakan, knowing that on blue side, they'll be able to pick up either, whichever is left available here. So they'll get that power pick. The question is, will Guma now pick up the Kai'Sa here in return into what has historically been somewhat of a soft counter matchup? That Xayah looks like the answer is yes.
Yeah, Guma's definitely got a pretty nice champion pool in terms of what he could potentially pick here, but I think, you know, just going into a best of one, something consistent, pick up the Kai'Sa. The Xayah has been prioritized just a bit more than the Kai'Sa, and you generally like it in that matchup, but the Kai'Sa going to be the choice here for Guma. I was thinking maybe they go with the Draven or something like that, but not to be the case, is Orianna as well is going to be locked in here for Faker.
I mean, it's
definitely a big pick.
It's a big pick. Faker's Orianna coming out here is something, you know, I wasn't sure we were going to get lucky enough to see in this series, but this will, of course, leave Delight the opportunity to pick the Rakan with Xayah. Won't be taking the Alistar here in this first one with the pre-existing synergy between these two champions on the bottom side. One of Delight's best picks, even before Alistar came on the scene, even when he was on Fredit Brionne in the past. It was one of his most iconic champions, and he gets to pick it up here. Now, will we see Chovy lock in the Azir here in this first phase? It has been so incredibly impactful in this tournament for engage, for disengage, for trying to get some lane prio. Chovy, one of the world's best Azir players here. It would be great to see two of Faker's iconic champs as well. Ooh. But they'll prioritize the Rumble.
Yeah, that's very surprising. I don't know if I was with you on this one. I think the Azir, with the amount of prio we've seen and just how strong Chovy is on this pick, maybe you pick it up. But no, it is going to be the Rumble. So that's really interesting going into this next half, as it does look like Keria is just going to pick up the Alistar here for this lane. We talked about Rakan and Alistar for our Korean support. So Rumble coming on in here, and that Azir immediately, they didn't waste any time to ban that one.
Yeah, no surprise there. Doing a little bit of a handshake on the supports. The Rumble's still a bit of the question mark here, and it makes me wonder if we'll see T1 decide to take away a Jarvan here from Peanut, because of the existing synergy between those two champions and the Xayah. Jax will be removed here, and the focus is definitely on getting Doran a matchup he wants here in the top side for that Rumble pick.
Yeah, it's just pretty interesting, because generally Doran has been kind of the guy that sits back and he's the role player, and he'll play pretty much anything the team requires him to play. And, you know, they'll try to get that big pick for Chovy or get a very strong jungler or bot lane. But not the case here. They're trying to get him some room, as Sylas going to be banned away as well. They don't want Chovy to pick that one up. Sylas, a long-time pick for him.
And Sylas just so incredibly impactful with Alistar on the board. You know, you can always end up taking an early Drake or Rift Herald fight with this pick. Once you get level 6, you steal away the Alistar ultimate, and it just becomes so difficult to take that Sylas down. Orianna ultimate also fantastic for Sylas, so I do like this choice quite a bit. It'll be a least in. They actually take away here from Oner. It's one of his best picks historically, hovering over 90% win rate for most of his career on this pick.
He's insane.
He's insane.
He's actually ridiculous on that pick. So I don't mind it. You know, Lee Sin has kind of been edge. He's been moving his way in here at Worlds, so definitely take away one of Oner's best picks. But that does leave the Rel, which has been a big game changer for many of our games so far.
And there's such a great amount of synergy, as the Jarvan will actually be considered as well as a bit of a takeaway here from Peanut. There's a lot of synergy between Jarvan as well as Rel for the Orianna setup. You put the ball on the Jarvan, he then goes in, you have the follow-up ult, you have Alistar there, and you can set up a lot of pick potential, especially with the Kai'Sa follow-up. So now let's see what is going to be the choice here for Genji. They may just simply take the Rel, which also works for the equalizer. But Peanut looking for a Viego pickup here to look for more of a front-to-back focus one target down transform style.
Oh,
yeah, Kali.
What's going on here, Wolf? Okay, this Akali is going to be picked up on the side of Gen G, and you'd have to imagine that goes into the hands of Chovy here. Maybe a pocket pick to try to deal with this Orianna we've seen many times.
It does become really difficult to try to flex it anywhere else on blue side, as it will be an old favorite, one of Peanut's most played in the LCK here, coming out. And the Kazakhs can be very dangerous, very bursty, a lot of great farm potential here with this pick, but it's a pick that can go splat, as we often say with Kazakhs. If you do fall behind against this much CC, this much damage to the Orianna. And now it's going to be Aatrox that tackles the Rumble, a matchup we saw at a lot in the latter half of the LCK summer season here. A matchup Doran very comfortable on both sides of here. We'll see if he ends up taking the teleport or the ignite in this matchup, because I think it is going to be very defining. And I imagine that we'll see Peanut hovering the top side of the map quite substantially.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned the ignite for the Rumble, because we definitely have a guy over on the LCK show that has had a lot to say about the top Rumble and certain summoner choices. That would be Huni, if you guys have watched the LCK. So would love to get his thoughts eventually. But it's very interesting, you know, like I was saying before, these two LCK teams at best of one. What do you bring out? And I feel like Gen Z, they had like a really good standard start, and then someone flipped a switch, and then they went with all these kind of crazy picks. So I'm very curious to see how it's going to work out, Wolf.
Yeah, definitely a curveball here with the Akali into the Orianna, one where he thinks he's going to be able to pick Faker. Faker was caught out a lot by Team Liquid. Akali, a pick that can be very punishing, can be very threatening, especially if the ball is placed elsewhere. You can get around the Orianna and pick her very easily if Faker's playing greedy, especially inside. So I think trying to punish some of the mistakes we did see in that first game from T1.
It's definitely going to be really important. Whereas on the side of T1, I mean, this is just really standard, right? You got a very fantastic front-to-back team fight-oriented composition with the Orianna and multiple ball carriers. So we're going to be getting into this game right away for Gen G versus T1 as the fan chants begin, Wolf.
Feels like we're just at home, Valdez. Massive crowd here for Korea's two most popular teams, and they're both 1-1. They both were the successful LCK teams, unlike, unfortunately, for D+ and KT Roll. So they were dropping down to 0-1. They will not be playing in this 1-0 bracket. They're looking for their redemption against each other a little bit later on this evening. But I got to say, you know, this is the expected result. Gen G were the favorites in their matchup. T1 were the favorites against Team Liquid. Was a little bit tougher than people expected it to be. Team Liquid definitely gave T1 a run for their money. But in this matchup here, anything goes. We have seen this go both ways so much. And I myself, I think when you look at T1's draft here, it's definitely one that you know is stock standard, you know is very strong, it's very meta. And Gen G threw a bit of a curveball here with the Rumble top. It is Ignite that we are going to see here from Doran Peanut once again on this Kazakhs. And then we'll, of course, see the blue start here. Ward goes down, will not be cleared.
Yeah. This is going to be a really fun start to the day, Wolf. We are starting off with Gen G and T1 going head-to-head. Obviously, we had that excruciating draw show, which a lot of people had a lot of things to say about. But I think it's going to be really interesting when we do get to the best of threes afterwards. But yeah, we start off with Gen G versus T1. Then we go into G2 versus Weibo. And we have so many amazing matchups for today, for the end of the day. It's just going to be a great time, Wolf.
It really is. It's the World Championship in Korea, and we're very lucky to have that happen. And historically, Korea hasn't done as well in the Korean World Championships as they have outside of Korea, but we'll see if that changes here this time around, as the early game here for the Akali going to be a bit of a troublesome one into the Orianna. Of course, both of these junglers pathing towards the top side as we expected, starting red buff and blue buff respectively. We'll see how much pressure Doran can get down early in these early few levels with the Comet he's picked up here and that Ignite. And maybe Peanut can get something done, or at least keep the attention away from the mid and bottom lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to go back to this Akali pick in the mid lane. Chovy did play it a couple of times in solo queue, and he's definitely a guy that will pick up the Akali, the Sylas. You know, he was someone who really thrived in that meta, so I'm not really surprised to see Chovy himself picking it. It's just that we haven't really seen the Akali in a little bit, but it's just so cool that he's like, okay, we're playing against T1. It's time for my Akali. Had some, well, not so great trades, it seems so far, but I'm sure he's going to be confident on this pick. But let's see how Faker can punish this, especially early on against the melee champ that is Akali.
Yeah, just going to try to deny some further CS's. Doran.
Okay, taking a massive chunk of damage there. Doran getting overheated as well. And we'll just back off of that one. Zeus getting a nice trade.
Yeah, Doran not getting exactly what he wanted there. Now we're going to have a Scuttle Crab attempt here from Oner. Of course, they have tons of mid-prio with Faker getting that insane trade early. And, of course, Smite is there for Oner, so there's no way Peanut could take this one away. And that mid-prio already come up big. Delight going to try to come over here and punish, but Faker very wary of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do with mid-prio if the enemy support is also going to come down into the mid lane, or come up, I should say, as now Keria is here. He's got a combo going as the rest of Gen G is trying to come out and punish this, but it's actually T1 who are now in a 3v2 situation. Peanut has to flash away. Even Guma's joining the fight, and T1 are going to start this one off with a bang. They get first blood for Faker on the Orianna in that South River.
And despite Delight being up here faster, there's just not enough health for Chovy. It's early game. Akali, his impact's going to be low. Faker has enough mana there, and T1 ultimately end up outnumbering them there. They will win the battle for the Scuttle. They'll pick up first blood for Faker as well, who put that pressure on early. And remember, Faker is recovering from a very weak end of the season where he had, of course, an injury, came back, wasn't mechanically looking as strong as he was in the first half of the season, but was still, the leadership was showing through. But in this early game here into the Akali, gets the advantage and helps them secure first blood and the double Scuttle.
Yeah, now he's got blue buff. He's already completed a lost chapter. It's just going to make this lane even more annoying for Chovy. There's really not much he can do without Flash down on CS. You know, this isn't the standard Chovy experience, if you will. So will be important to take a quicker or a further look on this lane in the future of this game. But yeah, just trying to deny this bottom Scuttle play, but it just goes awry. Yeah,
it goes awry here, and those Chovies that's sitting at sub-half health, and Delight is focused down early. Faker gets away here from Peanut, and this is just a numbers game you are not going to win. Without Pays here, there's nothing you can do. There's just way too much damage output here, and Chovy just useless here at sub-half health, level 4.
Not much they can do. Felt definitely a bit forced from the side of Gen G, but let's see if they can turn this one around. They're certainly going to need to do that, as it looks like Zeus is a bit down on the farm in the top side. Doran doing a good job of, just getting some of that early pressure here for the Rumble in this lane.
Yeah, Doran, no assist here from Peanut just yet. You can see the CS advantage, though. Definitely you could feel it. Oner going to come up here. Neither jungler level 6 just yet. Control ward advantage here, and Peanut's going to back away. Doran needs to be cautious about this, but it looks like he's just going to try to get some information. And they're going to look for a trade here, but it won't connect the chains.
Yeah, it's really interesting the timing of when Doran does go for that trade. Like, Oner is right here. Of course, Doran doesn't know that exactly, and as I say that, he's going in. He's got Ignite too, but now Oner looking to punish this, and the flash is going to miss after the flag and drag, so Doran does get away with his life.
Yeah, it will be down a flash here, though, and it's a trade, of course, of flashes, but can be very risky for a squishy champion like Rumble. Gen G going to try to turn this into a bottom side play here, and it looked for a moment like perhaps Doran wasn't aware of this, but wanted to be a little bit of a juicy target here to keep Oner a little bit occupied, try to force him out so they could identify for sure he was up there. They didn't have that control ward. It was T1's control ward there on the top of the river, so they just didn't have 100% of an idea where Oner was. They can draw him out, confirm the dragon. So basically flash trade here plus dragon for Gen G.
Yeah, definitely pretty necessary after the way that first play did go for Gen G. So let's see what they can do with this one. As Chovy, you can feel the pressure already. Faker not completing the item just yet, but still able to put on an immense amount of pressure and has enjoyed now basically 15-14 CS lead just about. And now Oner looking to invade the jungle against the Kazakhs here. And a little play down on the bottom side of flash away at the same time, but we got Oner looking for the solo, and he's just gonna dunk onto Peanut as Chovy also getting into the action, not to be left out, but doesn't amount to too much for him. But Oner, man, he's able to pick up the solo.
The timing of this is so perfect for Oner, as he's able to get the smite, grab level 6, and then has the all-in opportunity, denying Peanut his own level 6 there, has a massive advantage here in this early game, and will just simply be able to take him out. And 2 kills here to 0. Yes, you got the Drake as Gen G, but this was a huge momentum shift now for T1.
Yeah, they're totally in the driver's seat at this moment in time. Peanut, you know, kind of struggling, went in very deep on the river play. Now he's going to get invaded. Very nice timing on this invade from Oner.
Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about. He identifies, okay, I've got the opportunity to come in here and smite, steal this away, drops the ward in, hits level 6, can cataclysm him and take it out. It's about as basic as it gets, but it's the knowledge of the timing that Peanut would be there. They're both level 5. He knows he has this window. It's not even that risky here for Oner, but he comes up with a big reward.
Yeah, now take a look at this. I mean, Peanut, he does say level 6, but he walks over a ward. T1 knows that they are going for this Rift Herald, and it does look like they are looking to sidle on up to this one, but actually not going to challenge it. So Gen.G will be able to pick up a Rift Herald pretty much for free on that top side with a big rotation from their bottom lane.
Yeah, so 2 neutral objectives going over to Gen.G here, and T1 looked like they were going to contest, even Guma rotating over, so they won't be able to turn this into a plate trade in the bottom side. Either Pays and Delight are rotating back down there, so T1 coming up a little bit empty there after that kill in the jungle.
Chovy being shadowed here by Keria, who is looking for maybe something. We'll see if Faker's Shockwave can find at least Chovy in this game, maybe more as the game does come along. Chovy is looking for the play now. Perfect timing as Keria is not here. The Shuriken is going to land, but Faker doesn't really seem to care as he's just got that refillable ticking and he's able to back away. Didn't even have to go into Merc Treads. Just straight up Sork Pen boots. He is not scared of Chovy at all.
Yeah, not worried about Akali, not worried about any sort of tenacity here, just wants the full damage here on this Orianna. Ends up being good damage here for Chovy, but no threat really, as Gen.G grouping around this Scuttle. It's 2 minutes until Dragon spawns, so you're going to get that vision preempted. Bottom side, they do have a lot of control. Faker is teleporting back mid. Diving this could be risky against an Alistar here. Looks like they're going to think better of it.
Yeah, probably not the play at this point in time. You can see the players with the most amount of gold in this one, Faker and Oner, not too surprising, as Oner already picking up his Gore Drinker and will be looking to challenge more now that he's completed that first mythic item. And yeah, I mean, just trying to get some of that. Look at that. He blocks the cannon with his body, does not care to just eat a shuriken because he knows that Chovy cannot put on any pressure.
He knows Chovy's #1 weakness is he needs CS more than anything. This is going to really hurt his mental. But yeah, nice block there. 20 CS up currently is Faker, who's maintaining that early game lead. Now Oner is looking for an opportunity here. Chovy, of course, does have Flash. Looking to fish that one out. Faker drops the ball.
They can dunk on him so hard, the damage is just huge. There it is, Chovy with a very nicely timed Flash to just barely get away from this one. As meanwhile, Pays and Delight have moved up to the top lane as all this is going on. But again, they're going to push Chovy out of the mid lane.
Chovy pushed out, so even though he lives and the reaction time was fantastic, it's ultimately still a huge win for T1 here. Now we're going to see a bit of a lane swap coming through as Guma goes top. Doran going to grab a plate bottom side here, so picking up some additional gold to get this Rumble online. But man, T1 with so much control right now, already 1,600 gold, 1,500 gold ahead at this point in time. Only 2 kills in their pocket, but the lead is massive and the damage is going to start really stacking up. The Jarvan's massively ahead. He can continue to put pressure on this Akali, put pressure on the Rumble. And it's really difficult for Gen.G to now sail through the mid-game when T1 have the perfect mid-game composition. They got Orianna, Aatrox, they've got a Jarvan who's online, and it's that lethality Kai'Sa that's going to be so powerful right now when they don't have a traditional frontliner in this composition. That really worries me here for Gen.G.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of burst damage for T1 when they are ahead is going to be insane. So it's really just going to be about putting everything together and finding the right targets, right? Because you want to make sure you can get someone that's not too slippery, that will kind of get out of your grasp and just line up the damage onto them. So we'll have to wait and see how that does develop, as it does look like we have this Mountain Drake that might be fought for here. Peanut coming in from the bottom side as Gen.G make a play for this one.
Zeus does have teleport. Guma going to have to walk down here, though, to the dragon fight, so they're going to have to delay this if they're going to, in fact, contest. But, I mean, Gen.G have full control of this choke point with a Rakan. This is going to be a tough ask, and T1 to simply relinquish the Drake. I think this is the right choice here. You are down a dragon. You don't know what the soul is going to be, but all of your mid-game advantages aren't going to matter if you can't actually enter the battlefield. Wow. So, Gen.G, nicely played, but T1, I think this is the right call.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the safe call, right? I think with their lead, you know, you could try to make a play for it, but instead they're just going to sit back and wait for some of their spikes a little bit later on. Speaking of which, Gumayusi seems to have no idea that this Rumble is in the bush, and now he's getting flashed on. Guma will be able to flash away from this one, and there's the ultimate just ticking down. And Doran will pick up the solo onto the Kai'Sa. Guma left all alone.
Yeah, Guma, he's definitely aware there was a possibility, but still strayed too far forward there. Doran hits everything, and it's the Comet as well on top of that equalizer that will finish Guma. Summoner's down now as well on this Kai'Sa. Huge win here for Doran. Much needed gold here for Gen G. Top side, we'll see if T1 can answer onto the Akali. Doesn't seem likely. Delight is shadowing there, and so Peanut's just going to look to steal blue buff away.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how that one all came together. There have been so many swaps in the lanes, kind of started by Gen G and trying to make plays on the objectives. They had their bot lane in the top side, and it did feel like T1 was trying to catch up to that, and it ended up with this weird matchup of the Guma versus Doran, and that was not one that Guma wanted to go for. So you can see in terms of turret plates has been pretty even so far. So even though T1 did get that early lead, Gen G are sticking in this one.
See Guma very aware of the possibility of this, but just needs to go up and catch that wave and doesn't expect Doran popping out with that much damage. The equalizer's well aimed. Comet connects, and that's enough to take Guma out. Huge for the Rumble to pick up that gold and to push Guma off of the map. He's 20 farm behind Pays currently. So we take a look at the MasterCard lane economy snapshot here. You can see big win for Faker in the mid lane. That much we've known has been true this entire game, but neutral objectives have gone to Gen G. Pays massively far ahead of Guma. In terms of late game scaling, this could be a huge problem for T1 later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Xayah is going to be a late game powerhouse. This lethality, Kai'Sa, you know, obviously has the huge burst damage, but will he be able to find those angles is really the question. And Chovy, definitely pretty far behind, but once this Akali gets, you know, 2-3 items, still going to be able to blow people up. And we'll just have to wait and see how these fights do go. But props to Gen G for sticking in this one after some of those early kills. As now we do have this second Rift Herald, which our LCK teams just love to fight over. They can't resist Wolf. They must get it. And of course, they just want to get that pressure on the third Drake in the mid game.
Gen G were able to get that second Drake, you know, without a fight from T1 because they had such great positional advantage. They can't say the same about this Herald here. And again, T1's mid-game power is spiking so hard right now. They're only up 700 gold here, but the items they have on the carries they have are just so deadly. They're going to actually take this turret, maybe more.
Pays is just eating the damage. I mean, he just sits on the ball, and Faker says, thank you very much, I will eat that one, and picks up a second kill for himself. Pays not respecting the damage.
I was going to say, I mean, Gen G, they knew where to fight their bottom side battle on the Dragon to get that control and then take that without a fight. They looked like they were going to give up this Herald, but they went for a late contest on the turret, and T1 are going to get more than just that kill on Pays in the turret. They're going to look for their Rift Herald now. Peanut has the opportunity to steal here, potentially.
Yeah, you got a Rumble ult coming down, but a little bit half-hearted, perhaps. T1 going to take control, and they know that Peanut was behind them, so Oner going to try to get this fight started here in the top side of the map, but not going to complete this one, as Chovy just going to walk away from this, and Zeus is staying around for a very long time. Just going to walk away, or rather fly away, with those glorious wings. But yeah, T1 going to pick up yet another objective.
Yeah, their first real objective of the game, but critically grabbing that turret, grabbing that kill onto Pays really shifts momentum back into their favor here as Gen G was able to get those first few without a real fight as Doran once again looking for an opportunity.
Wait, this is the same spot. I saw this already, but it was Kai'Sa. But Faker says, I am different. I can challenge you. And that he will. He's just holding on, waiting for the 1 second for his shockwave. Doesn't even need it as Chovy going to come in, dodging the shuriken as Faker, but he's in a lot of trouble. He's alone against 3, and now Zeus is on the run to light, trying to continue on this one. Pays running into the rest of T1, but they will just be able to get away by running to their turret. So Gen G only able to pick up Faker on the backside of that one.
They'll grab a turret here as well, and Zeus is going to need to back away. Pays going to take that one out. A lot of money here on this Xayah. And this is setting up nicely, of course, for a Drake fight here in the next 15 seconds. Gen G looking like they want to reset, however. Keria and Guma trying to stick around here. Of course, will spot Peanut. And it looks like T1 are actually going to get the Drake started first. Delight. I don't think there's any follow-up damage here, but they'll at least keep them away. And I gotta say, Valdez, it looked really good for Gen G in that last bottom side fight, but this might be an opportunity for T1 to finally turn these objectives around as they set up first.
Yeah, I guess just the chase, not really able to get too much other than Faker and some low health bars. They decide to go for a reset. They have 2 Drakes already, so T1 just going to be able to pick up their first one, as we'll take another look at this one. Pace just not respecting the ball. Faker taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it looks like they're on 2 pages here as Peanut and Chovy are trying to control a little bit more Rift Herald vision, whereas Delight and Pace feel like they can hold onto this turret while outnumbered. Now, this is the really interesting play down here as Doran tries to look like it looks like he wants to actually all in onto Faker, but what he really wants is actually to bait Faker forward, and they're going to try to win the war of attrition because they have members much closer here. Lewis Delight is coming down. Peanut is coming down much faster. They bait Faker forward, and even though Zeus matches the teleport here, once again, they're outnumbered. This was a great play by Doran, a nice bait, pulling Faker in.
Yeah, meanwhile, we got a lot of pressure from Gen G into T1's jungle. They are just going to push T1 out, and in fact, they will get this top tier 1 turret. Meanwhile, Zeus alone on the bottom side. Take a look at the level difference as well. Just 2 levels ahead in that top lane, but also take a look at the total damage as Faker, he started the game in the lead, and now he is still holding on to the reins of this one.
So we are just trading turrets here. It's an LCK classic. Don't fight, just hit those objectives. Rift Herald, of course, going to help you win that race, though, as we trade inners, as we might see an attempt to deny this.
Oh, boy, Peanut, he's just sitting on it, and Faker is so strong at this point in time. He's nearly got the Shadow Flame finished off, and man, I mean, that was pretty close. They're just going to back off of that one, and it will be a saved turret. But tier 2 turret taken down by T1 in the mid lane. That is a huge advantage to them, especially with some of these Drakes that will be fought over here in a bit.
Shadow Flame completed, as you were alluding to. Faker's just picked that one up here. Baron is spawning in 15 seconds. Now, that might seem like it's not something to talk about right at 20. But with the spikes that T1 have hit here, Duskblade done for Guma. Faker has Shadow Flame here. Look at the Aatrox build as well. Duskblade as well as a little bit of MR. I mean, T1 absolutely could look to group contest vision here. They're the ones with the mid-tower advantage, so they have a lot of ways to set up for an early Baron, and it's T1, the kings of taking early Baron, something that Gen G now have to really put their focal points on.
Yeah, T1 definitely one of the first teams in the LCK, at least, to really put pressure on the objective from ahead. They say, hey, 2,000 gold lead, fine, we can do this. We got some players that can tank it up. We have great turn in our composition. Let's just go for the objective. Now, they're going to hold on that one for now. Looks like they do want to put some pressure on this top tier 1 as Doran just trying to play safe. He does have some allies nearby.
It's really great to see T1 utilize the pressure they have here on top side to threaten the Baron as well as that turret. They know that Guma can fall back to that mid turret is okay. Faker.
Yeah, Faker in a lot of trouble here. Chovy on the chase. It's really difficult to get away from this. Akali hits the shuriken as the shockwave lands. Does not care, and Oner can't do anything about it. Chovy just gonna pick up that kill.
Bit of greed here from Faker once again in the side lane, and yes, Zeus is gonna force a teleport down here to bottom side, but this is gonna open things up massively in terms of Baron control here for Gen G. It's not the first time we've seen Faker caught out here on this pick, and we'll see if Gen G can get much from it. At least going to relieve, finally, a lot of that pressure on the top side where they were threatening turret, they were threatening controlling that choke point for Baron. You can see how this all starts off here. They see, of course, that Oner is leaving. Faker's out here, and the Equalizer comes down first. Chovy kind of zones Faker, and then even though the ultimate is going to hit, the Shuriken lands here through the ultimate. Chovy, a masterclass here on this Akali, and Oner can only Cataclysm away.
Yeah, like I said before, this guy's been playing Akali, Silas, stuff like this. Like, he is a master of this kind of pick, and he's been playing it recently. Pulls it out on the world stage in competitive, and he has been looking great on it outside of the early game. But at the end of this one, maybe we won't even remember that happened. We'll have to wait and see how this one does come along, as Chovy certainly has gotten himself at least a seat at the table, I would say, here as this game does draw along to the mid-game.
Faker utilizing teleport here to try to put that pressure once again on the top side of the map, this time shadowed by 2 members of his team.
Oh boy, here we go again. TP is coming in. Faker is just flashing, dodging, getting away from everything. But Zeus now is going to be totally caught here. Has to just run away from this one. Meanwhile, Peanut nearly loses his life to Keria and Guma in the river. And that might just be the call to go for the Baron. I mean, the jungle of Gen G is just gone.
Just gone, no flash here.
They're looking for the play instead, but they're not going to catch catch Delight out, especially on that Rakan.
I mean, T1 have so much control here, and it's off of trying to bait them in with Faker once again. You know, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, sometimes Faker's going to get caught. There is no follow-up. This time, T1, once again, all grouped towards top side, make Faker look like a juicy target. Genji come through. Bottom side of the fight is won by T1, and Genji have to back away. They're not confident enough that they could actually go ahead and start the Baron off. They're going to take a reset timer here, but got a lot of ground there off of the play. Faker, of course, down both summoners now, and Genji rush to Dragon.
Yeah, the timing of this is pretty interesting. They know that T1 must have gone for some resets, but T1 barreling into the river. It looks like they do want to challenge this in the bottom side. Delight is a bit caught out, but he is Rakan, and now he's going back in. He's looking for the big engage with that Rumble ultimate over the top. That's going to be the Kaisa just gone in this fight before it even began, as Jovi just running down the top side alongside of Doran, and that is a clean ace to the side of Genji.
That's Delight's Rakan for you every single time. You think he's not going to be an issue. You think you've got him low. You think he's not going to go back in. He absolutely will. Genji have positional advantage on this fight here. And even though Delight takes a massive amount of damage, he goes for the charm here, gets the knockup, and then the follow-up damage is layered through from Doran. Look at his positioning. Rumble under no threat whatsoever. Faker not in position to follow up. And Delight, yeah, he will die, but he does the heavy lifting here to set up the damage dealers to actually get the work done. And Genji will follow up with a Baron as well. And suddenly, Genji with a massive, nearly 3,000 gold lead here. Soul point advantage and Baron buff on top of it all.
Yeah, I feel like if there was one thing to really look out from the pick ban, it wasn't even, you know, the strange picks coming out or the less likely picks. It was just the fact that Delight got Rakan, as we do have this team fight damage powered by AWS. You can see just what they were able to get done, and T1 was able to fight back just a bit, but it was just that turnaround from Delight. I just can't believe they didn't. Not only did he get Rakan, but also they have Xayah Rakan here, and now with this Red Bull Baron power play, they should be able to roll over from here. Let's see how much Genji can get done with this buff.
Yeah, there were other questions about that fight as well. Faker not in position to follow up or catch any of those damage dealers. He was really under threat, and controlling the choke point is so relevant in these fights. They just did not have it. Now they will grab this turret here against Genji during this Red Bull Baron power play. But take a look at the win probability here powered by AWS. It was mostly T1 for a majority of this game, but after that critical play on the Dragon, massively goes over to Genji.
Yeah, you can see Genji had some little spikes there where they were fighting back, you know, perhaps when Chovy was picking up kills and stuff like that. But this one might just be the straw that broke the camel's back. Let's see what they can get done with this, as some push in the bottom side as well as mid, but nothing really brewing in terms of a big push from the side of Genji. So they do have this Baron, but taking their time with it for now.
Yeah, a lot of turrets already removed from the map, so looking now to push this inner down in mid. Chovy pushing the top inner as well. That's going to push that power play much higher here, as you can see, trying to get all three inners. They're set up for it. Akali in the side. They could grab this one, then rotate over. They still have a whole minute left on this Baron, and there's just not much T1 can do here. They have decent wave clear, obviously, with this Orianna, but they're just going to have to sit back and lose their turrets here. And Genji going to use this extra prio here to probably set up vision around the bottom side of the map here for what is going to be the Cloud Soul fight. And we talked about the power of the mid game here, but Genji didn't really take that many important big 5v5 fights when T1 spiked at their hardest. They avoided those fights, took objective control rather than trying to force picks. And yes, T1 got a pick here, got a pick there. Faker got massively ahead. He was the #1 damage in the game. But he won't be able to match the pick potential here of this Akali necessarily now. It's the scaling power of this Xayah as well. Look at the gold difference over time here. Pretty massive difference.
Yeah, was in favor of T1, but now Genji, one big play, turns this entire game around. And yeah, I just haven't really seen T1 try to put together, you know, one of these, you put the ball on the Jarvan, he goes in for an engage, or trying to get some flashes out of the Xayah, or at least a Featherstorm, something like that. They haven't really been able to put together a big 5v5 team fight in their favor in that fashion. So Genji, a bit more scrappy, utilizing that Rakan to get that huge engage. And now they're trying to put the nail in the coffin on this one. Let's see how this fight does go, as Peanut trying to get away, does get knocked up. Doesn't seem to care too much. Just going to run away from that one and hold his own. He knows he's got Delight nearby.
Not even going to use the blast cone. We'll just get out of here. And they will, I believe, finally get that last inner there on the top side. Yes, so even though the Baron is over, they do secure all three inners from this. And the way Gen G have played around this advantage, turning it into deep vision, turning it into those turrets, means it's very difficult for plays like you mentioned to try to put a ball on Jarvan, toss the Orianna ult in on top of a big play becomes so difficult when you can't see where these huge threats are. We were talking about an Umbroglaive as well on this Kha'Zix, so Peanut can clear vision very quickly. He's a big threat. If Faker tries to walk forward and set something up, he might get blown up by Peanut. He might get blown up by an Akali he can't see. The lack of vision becomes so difficult to play out here for T1. We talked about this a little bit in the draft, but now that Gen G have so much control over the map, it becomes almost unplayable here now for T1.
Yeah, a lot of assassin type, very slippery, that can really get in to T1's backline without them really even noticing. So now, trying to fight for this Cloud Soul here is Gen G. I think they're making a big stand saying, okay, this should be ours. Look at the vision right now. There is the one control ward for T1 on the right. That's about it. They don't have anything else in the river or behind Gen G. There's not going to be a big flank from Aatrox unless Zeus really goes the long way around. But even that bottom lane is pushed up for Gen G. This is very well set up for them to just take the Cloud Soul, and that they will. They're just going to take down the objective, and in the front is Oner. He's just going to get ripped to shreds immediately. Guma doesn't even get to do damage in this fight, as Zeus on the run as well, taking a punch. In goes Guma, trying to do something, but at this point it just looks like Gen G are in total control of this game, and Faker just gonna walk away with just his life. The rest of his team is gone.
The rest of his team is gone, and this game, I think, likely gone with it. And once again, same MO from Gen G. Control the choke point, kite back to Baron, put Delight in the front. He looks like a squishy target. Maybe you could push onto this Rakan, but Delight will turn on you on a dime, and they just cannot close the distance. Oner tries, ultimately without Faker's help. But like I was saying before, everything needs to work together with T1, and if there's no vision, if there's no choke point control, you just cannot do it against Gen G.
Oh boy, Faker trying his best, but I think Gen G have their sights on the Nexus as a massive equalizer over the top. Just the cherry on top as Gen